Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Barnes. I am a native of right here in Newport, Tennessee. I also currently split my time up and live in New York City, where I work as a professional makeup artist in film and television. But we are going to talk more about that next week when you're learning about makeup and costumes for stage. Today, I want to talk about singing and dancing on stage, which is another love of mine. I started dancing at the age of 3. I started dancing right here in Newport under a teacher by the name of Lori Gopleasure. She had a studio called The Dance Experience, and I fell in love instantly. I took my first class on my 3rd birthday, and I've been dancing ever since. I also danced in Knoxville all growing up because then we didn't really have a dance studio here in Newport, so my mom drove me to Knoxville. I took classes from Knoxville Performing Arts Institute and also the dance agency in Knoxville. And all before I was ever a teenager, I had danced on a Carnival cruise ship. I had danced at Dollywood and, well, sang as well. But I danced in the Nutcracker in Knoxville through the Knoxville Civic Ballet. And I also sang and danced in Christy the Musical, which was a musical in Townsend, Tennessee. And I was the only person that had a solo singing, and that was a child in the cast. And then we also danced. And that was so much fun, and I thank my mom every day for giving me those opportunities and letting me do those things as a kid. But it really taught me discipline and everything, and made me who I am today, really. And as a young adult, I opened my own dance studio here in town called Center Stage, and we had a ball. We performed so many places. We went all up and down the East Coast, taking the kids to competitions and performances and dancing in parades, and it was so much fun to then go through that as a teacher. And so I began choreographing for Newport Theater Guild. The first show that I did was The Wizard of Oz, and nope, the first show I did was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Then I did Wizard of Oz, and we did Bye Bye Birdie. And then I also started working with Encore Theatrical in Morristown, where I did Hairspray, I did Singin' in the Rain, I did The Lion King Jr., Peter Pan Jr., and most recently, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I also performed in Hairspray. Sorry, I have to flip my notes. I also performed in Hairspray in Morristown, and that was such a ball. I also performed in the casino tour of Tony and Tina's Wedding. It was a huge off-Broadway hit that toured casinos, and it was such a crazy time because I auditioned online on the internet, and they sent me all of the videos to basically learn the show by myself. And then they gave me one rehearsal before they threw me into the show. And it was a really fun experience, because then when I got there and the director heard me sing, he said, "Okay, I'm going to have you sing the song too." And so I had an afternoon to learn all of the staging and where to be when, and also, oh, by the way, here's a new song. So it was such a rush and an amazing experience, and that first show was crazy, it was so fun. But then also, as an adult, I've danced on an episode of The Vampire Diaries. It was like a decade dance. It was like a school dance scene, and I had on a flapper dress and a feather in my hair, and we danced the same partner dance for 8 hours. I also did an episode of One Tree Hill where I danced in the background behind all of the main girls were doing a number to a Spice Girl song, and we danced all night. It was crazy. And then I also was in the remake of Footloose, which was a movie, and we did that dance over and over again. That's the thing with dancing for TV and film, which is so different than stage, because on stage you get to do it once. You don't get a do-over. You don't get to say, "Oh wait, I missed my turn." No, like you do it once, and that's why it's such a rush. But then for film and television, like, you have to be on it because you have to do it the same way every time for however many hours they want you to. And whether it's a one take wonder where we do it one time and say, oh, we got it, or you do it from sundown to sun up for hours and you have to remember it and you have to do it the same way every time. But anyway, that's how those two experiences are different. So back to dancing on stage. In my experience, musical theater, there's nothing like it because of the fact that whatever show you're doing, it's so different from the last one you did. Whether it's the time period or the style, or, there's so many different periods represented. And where else do you sometimes get to, recreate your favorite numbers from your favorite movies or whatever? Like with The Wizard of Oz, one of my favorite things was, recreating that iconic skip down the yellow brick road with our characters, and you do that number several times in the show. And so it was interesting because I wanted to make each one different. I didn't want the audience to see the same exact dance 4 times in the show when we pick up our characters in different parts of the forest and we're on a different part of the journey, and also, I'm just going to say it, I hate repetition with choreography. There's nothing special, about seeing the same dance over and over again and the same movements over and over again. So it was interesting in how to recreate that same basic feel, but make it a little different and a little special for each different character that you pick up along the way. But the other cool thing about The Wizard of Oz was there was a song in it that was cut from the movie called The Jitterbug, and it was basically where these bugs danced and bit our main characters, and where they danced until they passed out, and the evil forest. So that was a new thing that I felt like I got to create. Where I felt like, oh, I know The Wizard of Oz like the back of my hand, but here's a new number that I don't know. So then I got to bring some of my style into it, but also incorporating the classic Wizard of Oz feel. So that was really, really cool to do in that show. And then, like with Hairspray and Bye Bye Birdie, I basically did those two shows back to back. And you would think, okay, Hairspray set in 1962, Bye Bye Birdie set in 1960, so you would think, oh yeah, they're basically the same. No, not at all. Because, Hairspray is 1962, they have a cool TV show that they watch every day to know the latest dance styles and everything, and it's all about what's up and coming and that material. So what's happening, what's up and coming, and how are we changing the world? And it was really, how are we doing it through dance, which was super cool. And then Bye Bye Birdie, I feel like, is so iconic, but that was 1960, and where they live was a little more laid back. It wasn't quite ready for the big TV show to come into town and, take over, and they were still kind of late 50s, so a lot of the dance styles I incorporated were more 1950s instead of 60s, but had some 60s thrown in. But, to really, capture it properly, you really have to know your time periods, and I love learning all of that. And that's another brilliant thing about musical theater is the fact that you are always learning. But, when I was working on Bye Bye Birdie, I'm going to talk about Stephanie Williams for a second, because a lot of my fun was with her, because her character was actually Spanish. And so there's all of these, Latin nods in her songs, and we really got to play up the Latin jazz and the ballroom movements and things for her, for her numbers, and that was something that I really, really enjoyed, and I hope she still, we worked so hard, but I hope that she still looks back and thinks that we had a good time too. But and the other, talking about Latin, numbers, like with when I did The Lion King, a lot of that is a lot of African jazz, which is another totally different thing. And I had taken African growing up a little bit, and then I had choreographed when I had the studio. We did a number, a medley of Broadway soundtrack Tarzan songs that I had really incorporated African dance into, and taught my kids at the studio that, so they would have a basis of it, and but for Lion King, I went back to a lot of that and really studied that Lion King choreography and, push the kids to really, learn that culture and to learn those movements. It's not the same as what you're going to learn at Jazz 101, for your basic recital material usually. So, we really pushed, and, I wanted it to be correct. And that's the huge thing. And then with Lion King too, is everybody was a different animal. So we had the whole animal kingdom, represented, and it was about the movements through, if you're a Giselle, you're not going to get to point A and go to point B on stage the same way as one of the birds will. So it was really fun to use all of the African dance, but then incorporate how would these animals move. And, because when you're doing a musical, you're not always a person, so it's pretty cool of, how to incorporate all the different types of dance. And like with Peter Pan, it was so fun too because of the fact that we were a junior production, we were a school tour, we were doing a theater festival. It wasn't, oh, we're going to have this rig fly her. So all of her flying had to be done through dance, through movement, through lift, through, it was so cool to see all those kids work together. And when they got those lifts, how happy everybody was. It was such a cool experience to work with those kids in that way and teach them lifts that they had never ever tried before, even the ones who did dance, But it was a super cool experience too. And with Singing in the Rain, that's such an iconic movie too. And to get to use those steps, but within one show you had 1920s flapper movements, you had ballet, you had partner work, you had tap, you had classic Broadway jazz hands, but to get to do that all in one show was super special. And we had rain, so we had tap dancing in the rain, and that was a whole other challenge. And but it was a super fun thing to get to do all of that in one show. Every show has a tap number, by the way, just about. One time, usually after intermission, there is a tap number. Surprise! But that's another thing of like, you're never in a bad place learning a new style of dance because there's going to be a musical with it in it. It just is. Like, hip hop has taken over so much of the musical theater world, like with Hamilton and parts of Legally Blonde and Matilda and Bring It On. And, it's like you never know when a hip-hop number is going to break. Like in Mean Girls, okay? One number's tap, one number is, it's just like, that's why dancing in shows is so exciting. All the styles and everything that's covered. It's so much fun to get to put together a show because you really get to use everything that you've learned. And, that's another thing, like with, a show, it's mostly jazz. That tells me nothing because of the fact that, whose style of jazz? Bob Fosse? Is it Jerome Robbins? Is it Jerry Mitchell? Is it, Sonia from So You Think You Can Dance? She just did Moulin Rouge. And Warren Carlyle. Or is it mine? Because is it a number that we've never seen before, But, as a musical theater choreographer and dancer, you just kind of have to be kind of well-rounded. And I'm not saying you have to be an expert, but I'm saying, if you can go to a class, go. I also understand that, everybody doesn't have the opportunities to go. But nowadays, things are so different because there are so many basic ballet, jazz, tap, hip-hop, any kind of dance that you look up on YouTube, you can find a basic, video to go through and learn. And it's all about learning. I'm still learning. I go to class on the weekends when I can in New York, and I go to Broadway Dance Center, or I go to Steps or wherever. Or, you know what, if I'm tired and I don't want to get ready to go, I put on a video and I, just make myself keep learning because as much as I love my career, you never know when you're going to choreograph a show. So it's like, keep yourself, entertained and keep yourself active and keep dancing, and I'm not saying you have to become an expert again, but I'm just saying if you learn a little bit from YouTube or from Capizio on Instagram or wherever, you're going to have a lot easier of a time learning that choreography, and you're going to have a lot easier of a time in the audition room, and you're going to feel more comfortable on stage, because confidence is the key on stage too. Like, you have to, go for it. There's no halfway, and there's no halfway in, a rehearsal either, because if you rehearse too many times halfway, you're going to perform halfway, and then you're going to be upset with yourself, and it's not worth it. This should be fun. It should be exciting, and, it's just a matter of you're always learning something new, and with every show you can push yourself harder, and there's just nothing like it. And, when I was talking about all the different choreographers, if you don't know those choreographers, please look up their work. Please. And, you don't have to live in New York and go see Broadway shows all the time to be educated. There are so many musicals in their entirety on YouTube now. Right now is such a weird time with Corona and everything, that we're not in the theater, we're not in the dance classes, we're not able, so we're doing a lot of things online. So use this time to, get yourself in a place to where when there are auditions and when there are shows again, you're ready. And, but yeah, this was just something that I've always loved, and there's nothing else like it in the world. And I hope that maybe I've inspired you to pick up a dance class online or something for now, and go for it. Use your dreams. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have. And I'll see some of you soon in the virtual musical, where I'm going to choreograph a little piece to the chorus of your big song. So I'll see you soon. Bye!